It's the middle of the night. Something wakes you up. A noise. A bad dream. That specific kind of dread that only exists at 3 a.m. And what do? You don't grab a weapon. You don't turn on the lights. You pull the blanket over yourself, maybe up to your chin, maybe over your head completely, and somehow, impossibly, you feel safer. Think about how absurd that is for a second. A blanket is a thin sheet of fabric, all right? It cannot stop an intruder. It cannot stop a spider. It could not stop anything that actually wanted to hurt you. And yet, for your entire life, a piece of cloth has felt like a force field. So why? Why does a blanket feel like protection when it protects you from nothing? The answer goes back hundreds of thousands of years, and by the end of this, you're going to understand that the blanket isn't the comfort object you think it is. It's the last surviving piece of a survival system your ancestors depended on to stay alive. Let's start with the most obvious thing everyone gets wrong. You think the blanket is about warmth, and sure, warmth is part of it. But here's the problem with that explanation. You feel the need for a blanket even on a hot summer night. You'll be sweating, you'll kick it off your legs, and then some part of your brain insists that at least one limb stays covered, or worse, you leave a single foot sticking out. If this were purely about temperature, that behavior makes no sense. You'd throw the blanket off entirely and cool down. But you don't, because the blanket was never only about heat. It's about something far older and far deeper. To understand it, you have to go back to a time before beds, before houses, before walls. For roughly 300,000 years, every human who ever lived faced the same terrifying problem every single night: sleep. Sleep is the most dangerous thing a wild animal can do. When you sleep, you are, by every biological measure, helpless. You can't see the predator coming, you can't hear it until it's close. Your muscles are essentially paralyzed during your deepest sleep stages, a state called REM atonia, where your body literally shuts down movement so you don't act out your dreams. For 8 hours a night, your ancestors were slow, silent, unaware meat, lying in the open on a continent full of things with claws and night vision. And the ones who survived, the ones who became your ancestors, weren't the ones who slept out in the open. They were the ones who felt a deep, gnawing, instinctive need to be covered, enclosed, and hidden before they let their guard down. That instinct is the blanket. Watch what humans do the second they feel unsafe or exhausted, and you'll see the pattern everywhere. We seek out corners. We put our backs to walls. We sleep in caves, in tents, in nooks, in the smallest, most enclosed space we can find. A child builds a pillow fort. A frightened person curls into a ball. A soldier digs a foxhole. This isn't random. It's the same ancient drive. Reduce your exposure. Shrink the number of directions a threat can come from, disappear from view. And a blanket is the most portable version of that instinct ever invented. When you pull it over yourself, you are doing in miniature exactly what your ancestors did when they crawled into a cave and pulled brush over the entrance. You are hiding. Now here's where it gets fascinating, because your body doesn't just symbolically feel safer under a blanket, it chemically calms down. There's a phenomenon researchers call deep pressure stimulation. When gentle, even weight is applied across your body, your nervous system shifts out of fight or flight mode, the sympathetic state, and into the rest and digest mode, the parasympathetic state. Your heart rate drops, your breathing slows. Your body reduces cortisol, the stress hormone, and increases the release of calming chemicals. This is the exact principle behind weighted blankets, which studies have found can measurably reduce anxiety and improve sleep. But your ancestors didn't need a special product to get this effect. Any covering, any weight, any enclosure triggered the same nervous system response, telling the brain a very old message. You are contained, you are hidden, you can stand down. And that message is powerful because the alternative, sleeping exposed with your nervous system on high alert, is exhausting and over a lifetime deadly. There's more. Consider what a blanket does to your sense of your own edges. When you're uncovered, your skin is constantly monitoring the air, every draft, every shift in temperature, every insect, every change in the environment. It's a low-level stream of vigilance you're not even aware of. The moment you're wrapped, that stream quiets down. The blanket creates a stable, predictable little world around your body. Nothing is touching you that you didn't expect. And this is why the exposed foot matters so much. That single limb sticking out isn't a contradiction. It's the system working perfectly. Your body is dumping excess heat through the foot to lower your core temperature, which has to drop for you to fall asleep while keeping the rest of you enclosed and hidden. You are thermoregulating and hiding at the same time, a compromise your body negotiates automatically every single night without you ever deciding a thing. Now let's talk about where this instinct is born, because it doesn't start in adulthood. It starts the day you're born. A newborn baby, taken out of the tight, warm, enclosed space of the womb, will scream in the open air and instantly calm the moment it's swaddled, wrapped snugly in cloth. Every culture on Earth discovered this independently. Wrap the baby, and the baby stops crying. Why? Because the swaddle recreates the pressure and enclosure the baby evolved to expect. And then watch what happens as that child grows. They develop an attachment to a specific blanket, a specific stuffed animal, an object they cannot sleep without. Psychologists call these transitional objects, and they show up in children across the entire world. In a famous set of experiments in the 1950s, the psychologist Harlow raised infant monkeys with two artificial mothers, one made of bare wire that dispensed milk, and one made of soft cloth that gave no food at all. The baby monkeys clung to the cloth mother almost constantly, only visiting the wire, one to feed before rushing back to the softness. Contact comfort, the sheer feeling of being held by something soft, mattered more to them than food. Human children are running the same ancient program. That ratty blanket a 4-year-old drags everywhere isn't a habit. It's a security system hundreds of thousands of years old, activating right on schedule. And here's the part that should genuinely give you chills. You never actually grow out of it. You just get better at hiding it. The adult who says they don't need a blanket still won't sleep with their back to an open door. The person who claims to fear nothing still feels that flicker of relief when they pull the covers up after a nightmare. The instinct doesn't disappear. It just gets quiet, waiting for the moment you're vulnerable enough to need it again. So let's reconstruct what this actually looked like for the people who gave you this instinct. Picture a night 40,000 years ago. The fire is dying down. A family is gathered in the mouth of a shelter, and before anyone sleeps, they pull animal hides over their bodies, fur facing inward, and press close together. This isn't just for warmth, though the warmth matters, it's concealment. The hide breaks up their human shape, masks some of their scent, and covers the pale, exposed skin that would otherwise catch the moonlight. It muffles the small sounds of movement. It creates, for a few precious hours, the illusion and the partial reality of being hidden from everything in the dark that might be watching. The people who felt driven to do this survived the night. The people who didn't, who slept exposed and indifferent, were far more likely to never wake up, and their genes, their casual attitude toward being covered, quietly vanished from the human story. Every person alive today is descended from the anxious ones, the ones who couldn't relax until they were wrapped and hidden. You are the product of 100,000 generations of humans who felt safer under a covering, because the ones who didn't feel that way are not here to have descendants. That fear, that need, that little pulse of relief when the blanket comes up is not a weakness. It's an inheritance. It's the single most successful survival instinct in human history, still running in a species that no longer needs it. In a bedroom with a locked door, in a house with walls, in a city with no predators, in a world your ancestors could never have imagined. And that's the strange, beautiful truth of it. The blanket protects you from nothing, and it protects you from everything. It can't stop a single real threat in your modern life, because there are almost none. But it still does the one job it was designed to do 300,000 years ago. It tells the oldest part of your brain that you are hidden, you are held, you are contained, and it is finally safe to close your eyes. So tonight, when you pull the covers up to your chin, understand what you're really doing. You're not just getting warm, you're performing a ritual older than language, older than fire-cooked food, older than almost anything we call human. You're doing exactly what every one of your ancestors did to survive the dark. The predators are gone. The danger has passed. But the instinct remains faithful as ever, wrapping you in the same quiet promise it made to the very first humans who ever learned to hide and sleep. You are covered. You are safe. And that, it turns out, was always enough.